Social media allows people the opportunity to stick their foot directly in their mouths. But what's really amazing is they don't have to. Like social media, that's a largely that's a choice. It's a choice that you make to get on there and then give your opinion and talk about things. But as we've talked about here many times, when you're a teacher, when you're a principal, school staff member, you should be mindful about the things that you say. Now, here we have a principal who said something. They didn't say anything. They didn't say anything uh, politically divisive or anything like that. They gave their opinion on something. They're not going to lose their job or anything like that, but they're catching a lot of heat from social media and they're understanding what that's like because I'm sure because of the comment that they made here, they're getting a lot of comments from people across this great country of ours, probably even across the world, because there's been so much attention paid to this tweet. Check this out. Here we have principal gets backlash for suggesting students should never miss school for vacation. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Gail Johnson was stunned by the backlash her post sparked, telling Today.com, "I didn't expect so much anger." Really? Man, I find that hard to believe. We're going to get into that tweet. But here we go. Let's start from the beginning here. Recently, Gail Johnson, a former high school principal, woke up to find her phone buzzing with dozens of angry messages from parents. The uproar centered on what Johnson considered a routine opinion, hardly the stuff of outrage. Yet within hours, her post had gone viral, igniting a heated debate amongst moms and dads across the country. It's 2025, and I actually have parents trying to defend pulling their child out of school for vacation, Johnson, who now works as a substitute teacher, wrote on X. I get a death. I get a granny who's turning 100 and lives out of state, but to get a cheaper vacation, nope, I can't ever support that. Ooh, doesn't sound good. That's not going to, you have to know that that's not going to be received well. So here we see that she's a retired principal, but she does work as a substitute. So I guess that's a positive out of that, is that, she's a substitute. So that can't cause too much disruption. And it's not going to cause any disruption at all, as a matter of fact. But I mean, yeah, this tweet is, she's probably got the most engagement from this tweet that she's ever received since she's been on Twitter. And it just doesn't read well. In this day and age where things are, the cost of living is getting higher, but our wages are struggling to catch up with the cost of living. So just living is even more expensive. And so people just they want to take a vacation. They want to take a vacation and make some memories with their family. So, yeah. And I did it last year. I pulled my kids out of school those last 2 weeks before Christmas break. Yeah, I pulled my kids out of school because we were able to get a cheaper vacation, and I don't feel bad about it at all. The reactions were unexpected, to say the least. She didn't expect this much anger. Are you serious? You've never heard of social media? Oh my gosh. Online, Johnson was accused of overstepping. Many argued that schools have no right to dictate family decisions, and that time spent traveling can be just as educational as classroom lessons. Here we have some responses. The raw arrogance of this is amazing. They think they own your kids. A child traveling with their family will always be a more enriching learning experience than yet another monotonous day showing up to school so that school gets a check for their presence. And then, that's a little rough there, but it does touch on reality when we talk about that attendance data. And speaking of that attendance data, she does come off as a principal who's just steeped in that attendance data, which they should be, the student achievement data, which they should be steeped in that. But you can't make such a declarative statement to families about how they spend their time. Again, we all know when you look at doing a vacation, the summer months, whew, that's gonna hit you over the head. But if you look at something that may be like January, February, it's like, whoa, that'll make you think. That sure will make you think about pulling Junior out of school. It's like, hey, we can save thousands of dollars if we go then. Go around MLK Day, something like that. Let's see what else. Someone said something about the state does not own our children. Another ad for homeschooling right there. I will take my child out of school when I feel like it. He is not your child, tyrant. So, Adele Johnson, who has more than 35 years of experience in public education, stood her ground explaining that her point wasn't about judging family choices. And see, now, once you get into this, once you've already said what you said, man, it's really difficult to take a step back and clarify, because now people are already upset. But about how even a few skip days can set students back. And yeah, we get that. When a student misses a week of school, the rest of the class keeps moving forward. It creates an added burden on the teacher, who must find time to help that student catch up while continuing to teach the other 28 kids. And that's, you know what, that she's absolutely correct right there. Yeah, it does. It is a little bit, it's an added step that teachers have to do in order to get those kids caught up and prepare for those kids to leave. Yes, absolutely right. She's correct. She adds that while she understands once in a lifetime events, absences often occur simply because there's a sale on the airlines or at Disney, which she described as chaotic and burdensome for schools already struggling with staffing shortages and attendance issues. Again, that's just hard. It's hard to tell families that. I mean, they want to go out there and make memories. And then here's the other thing too. The other thing that's really important to understand is that, the school day, there is some fluff within a school day. There's some fluff to extend the school day, simply because, you know what, families, parents, they need a place for their kids to go while they're working. And I've said this for years now, that not all students need 5 days of school. Some students could get by with 4 days of school. And I think there are also students who can get by with 3 days of school. You talk about chaotic. Imagine a situation where you had some students are going for 5, some students are going for 4. But their bottom line is there's fluff built within the school day. And that is a fact. That is a fact. And I think you also had some parents actually talk about that in their comments. When parents choose public schools, they're choosing to be part of a system with shared responsibility, Johnson explains. Most schools send home a student code of conduct that parents have to sign and return, even if they don't always read it. Schools depend on parents following these basic expectations so we can work together to give the children the best education. Okay. Anyways, listen. I don't know. She's sticking to her comment. I just, thankfully she's not. She's a retired principal. That's her opinion. I think you just have to work with those families. And throughout my career, we've done it many times where you have students who have family members over in the Middle East, and it's around the winter break where they leave about a week or so early so that they can go visit their family members. And you know what? We always make it work. Yeah, it's a extra steps for teachers, absolutely, but we find a way to make it work. So, when coming from a principal, she's a principal, right? Even though she's retired, coming from a principal, when you read this tweet, it doesn't sound good. You just sound it reads as you're careless, and you just care about that the attendance data, student achievement data. Nothing else matters. And then when you get into absolutes, can't ever support that. I mean, you know, when you're dealing with people, you have to be flexible. There's got to be some flexibility, and so you will always have to find a way to make things work. And then you know what? In the end, like I said, I've been doing it for a while. We find a way to make it work. We're flexible. We can make it work, and that's no problem. But I want to hear what you have to say. What do you think about this person's tweet? Do you agree? Or do you disagree? Let me hear you in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next update.